Good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilia here, taking a look at the tropical update for August 13th of 2019. Again, like always, brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters. Like always, big thanks to them for helping us out to do this, so we can let you guys know at home what's happening out in the tropics during hurricane season. Right now into the Gulf of Mexico. Really not much to worry about. Yeah, we do have some showers and thunderstorms on the southern side of this big ridge of high pressure. The reason that it is so hot in the southeast today is the big ridge that's out here. Well, on the southern side, we've got a fair amount of thunderstorm activity into the Gulf of Mexico, but because this is getting sheared off pretty good, and it's more the diurnal convection, that's the daytime heating stuff, we're not too terribly concerned about what's happening out here. Into the Caribbean, it's good and quiet. Now, we've been talking about all the thunderstorm activity down along the northern coast of South America. We can slide this down off to the south. You can see there's still some convection down here along the intertropical convergence zone, but into the Caribbean, it's nice and clear. That's good news and bad news. I mean, the good news is there's nothing tropical out there right now. The bad news being, unfortunately, this does give the water an opportunity to warm up a little bit, and it's been doing so over the last couple of days. Out to the open Atlantic, there's really not much to worry about or frankly talk about. As you head out toward Bermuda, we've got one little wave down here, and then as you head off the coast of Africa, really not much doing. We got a couple of waves over land right now that we'll keep tabs on through the next 10 to 20 days. But outside of that, I mean, the tropics are pretty quiet for now. There is a slight change that's going to come about as we head through the next couple of days. I'm going to start things off with the American model, the GFS, which paints a kind of a different picture today than it's been painting the last couple of days. And then I'm going to show you guys the European model, which is painting a similar picture as the American model the last couple of days. So GFS has been saying one thing until today. The European has been saying the same thing as the GFS, but still today says kind of the same thing. So the only new information that we have that's different than the information we've had the last couple of days is this model, and hopefully this will all make sense here in a hot second. All right, we got a lot of dry air out here as we head out into the open Atlantic, and this is the Saharan dust. A little bit closer to home on the south side of the ridge of high pressure, we've got a little area of low-level vorticity in here. That's reasonably normal on the backside of a front. So here comes all the dry air getting shoved across the Atlantic. Here we go through Friday and Saturday. You see that little batch of blue in here as we head through Sunday. Now, this is showing some dry air in here. Now, the last couple of days, that hasn't necessarily been the case. It's shown this wave kind of propagating its way toward Florida and getting to about the Bahamas on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. This now has it Sunday night in the Bahamas, but it has it shrouded up with all of the dry air. That's new. That's on this American model. That's the new piece of information, and then it has it kind of fall apart as it goes into the Gulf of Mexico, and maybe another one back in behind it, which is also kind of shrouded in a little bit of dry air, but really not much to worry about. And then back in behind that, we've got kind of an opening with another wave back here out into the open Atlantic, while at the same time also talking about some very weak area of some low-level circulation into the Gulf of Mexico as we head through the 23rd of August. Again, this wouldn't be this is way too weak to be any kind of tropical system. This is mainly just some thunderstorm activity that's out there. Okay. Where's the difference? Well, let's head over to the European model, which shows the same thing. South side of the front, we've got the little vorticity max, again, right in the same place, Wednesday afternoon. All right, well, let's turn back around and look out into the open Atlantic. The difference is Thursday, we've still got this thing into the Gulf. And see this little bullseye right in here? Keep your eye on the bullseye. That little bullseye of dry air is a little bit of weakness in here, and I think what it's doing is it's allowing what's back in behind it to do something similar. Kind of an opening up of that dry air due to some of the thunderstorm activity that may be associated with the wave that's moving through. The question becomes, I know you guys are probably watching this go, well, which one's right? Neither of them, frankly. I mean, these are only guidance. This isn't a guarantee on what you're going to get. It's basically just the computer model hoping that it gets it right. Well, this one actually has the wave with some semblance of low-level organization. And this, again, not enough there to be a tropical depression, storm, or hurricane, but it's together still. and we've got a little bit of action along the south coast, or the northern coast of the Gulf of Mexico. As this gets a little bit closer to the Bahamas, now this has it Tuesday morning, so this would be late Monday and into Tuesday in the Bahamas. It does have this kind of split a little bit, and one little piece gets into the Gulf of Mexico, another little piece goes off and kind of wraps around toward the Carolinas and kind of curlicues back around and back out to sea. This has been what the GFS is saying up until, frankly, today. I want to run this out a little further past Wednesday. I want to highlight something. We got this little area here that kind of sneaks over the Yucatan and up toward the coast of Texas as we head through Friday, and this is August 23rd. This is also shown in the GFS. I didn't highlight it because it's really tough to pick out. I'm going to go back here. It's really tough to pick out in here. We're going to run this all the way forward to Thursday, Friday. We're going to go through Saturday here. Sunday, and you can see the difference. There's that little wave, Sunday and into Monday that we were talking about on the European. It also splits, but it loses a lot of its low-level rotation. It loses a lot of its vorticity in here in the lower levels as it splits. Okay, so this is Wednesday. Keep your eye down here toward the Yucatan. You see that little piece right there. Not much there, and then that little patch of dry. That's the same thing. They're seeing the same thing. One just has a little bit more, the European, than the GFS, which didn't have as much. Again, we can run this thing forward Thursday, Friday. We can run this through Saturday. And again, here comes the wave right there into Monday and Tuesday. Just like before, splits. The GFS didn't have any coloring left anymore as it split apart, as it didn't think it had any semblance of low-level rotation. And then this one was a little more pronounced in the European here than in the GFS. That's just the difference between the models. Pretty normal stuff, frankly. This happens a lot. We don't necessarily talk about it a lot because we don't want to confuse you guys. I know at the end of the day you're just wondering, well, what's going to happen and what's not. But I wanted to kind of highlight that because you're going to see things over the next couple of days on social media that are probably going to say, oh, big hurricane here, big hurricane there, models say this, models say that. Well, I mean, for every one model that says one thing, there's probably a different one that says another. And that's why meteorologists, hopefully the good ones, don't just share single model stuff because we have to digest all of that information and try and give you an accurate forecast based on this. So what's the accurate forecast based on this? Well, I tend to think that this little wave out here will probably hold together as just a wave until it gets to the Bahamas. Beyond that point, I'll be honest, I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows. So if anybody's telling you they know, they don't. They're making a good guess, but they don't know for sure. And making a guess is different than making a forecast. This little thing that's a curiosity to me. This is new. This showed up in GFS and the European today. We'll see if it's still there tomorrow. But because this is new, I want a whole another 24 to 48 hours of model data before I say yay, nay, this is something we need to worry about. This isn't something anybody needs to worry about. But it is interesting that it showed up in both of them on the same day, on the same model run. That usually means that it's something to watch. However, I'm not ready to completely jump on board with that yet either. So again, the tropics just getting more active. That's normal this time of the year. We're reaching the peak of hurricane season, September 10th. Things getting a little more active, but that doesn't mean that anything is imminent, which is some good news. But it does mean that these tropical updates that we produce every day are probably something that you're going to want to come back and check on a little bit more than maybe you have the rest of the year. You know, oh, yeah, I'll check the app every other day, you know, that kind of thing. You guys are probably sitting at home, oh, I watched the video on Monday, I'll watch the next one on Thursday. But as we head through the next, probably a couple of weeks, you're probably going to want to watch this thing every day, just so you can be ahead of whatever may be out there. So again, there's your tropical update brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters. Big thanks to them for helping us out with these, as always, for August 13th of 2019.